Chrome Hearts, one of the most sought after clothing brands, valued at over $1 billion and more than likely the most revered clothing brand of our generation, did not run a single Facebook ad. They never ran a meta campaign. See, a lot of people think it's the sterling silver crosses or the studs or the leather or the gothic imagery. And while they make really awesome products, the design intention is absolutely out of this world. Yes, they do make great products, but the product itself is not what I believe carried them to the point they are at today. I actually believe where they're at is largely due to one singular marketing strategy that they began using in the late 80s that has silently permeated the entire industry. Chrome Hearts has essentially gone under people's radar and used marketing campaigns that people don't even realize they are a part of, right? So we're going to talk about that today. I used this strategy last year on a smaller scale before fourth quarter, and we had a 6-figure 30-minute period during that time, which is a significant amount of hype, and we never ran ads. We didn't need to run ads to get that level of desire for the clothing, and I think it was largely due to this strategy. So today I'm going to be breaking down this specific strategy, kind of going into the history of Chrome Hearts first, the history of how they did this, right? And then I'm going to talk about how I'm going to do this year again, how I did it last year, and then we're going to talk about how you can do this for your brand as well. So let's lock in, just crack the Diet Coke and get into the strategy, because this could literally 10x your revenue in 2 months with 0 ad spend. Now, before I get into this strategy, it's important that you understand the history of Chrome Hearts and where they started. So we're going to rewind a little bit to the late 80s, and we're going to get into how they went from being one man in a shop to being $1 billion brand. So let's take it back to 1988 when Richard Stark began making accessories and motorcycle gear in a workshop in LA. See, this guy's marketing strategy was actually the opposite of everybody else's marketing strategy. What everybody else does today, paying Facebook and Meta to show their product to as many people as possible, making the most viral type of videos to make their product get shown to as many people as possible, right? That's actually the opposite of what he did. What he did was he picked a very, very specific type of person to wear his brand, right? It was a very curated list of people. It was a very intentional, small categorization of people that he wanted to even know about his brand. And that was when Richard Stark broke the bubble that separates 6- and 7-figure brands from 8- and 9-figure brands. So Richard Stark was embedded in the LA rock and roll scene in the late 80s, and what he would do was he would make custom pieces, jackets, pants, accessories, whatever, for specific artists that he really liked and really wanted to work with. So people like Cher and members of the Rolling Stones. He basically just picked people that everybody else already saw as like the coolest people on the planet, and he also made things for people that he liked, right? It wasn't like he was taking requests for this or taking requests for that. He was just making clothes for people that he thought would wear them the best, based on how he designed them and how he wanted to see them more. And these also weren't endorsements. They weren't like paid promotions. They were gifts, and they were beginning of relationships, right? And those relationships paved way for them to still wear the product years and years and years and years later, right? 20, 30 years later. See, and what happens next is actually the key to everything, all right? So when everybody starts seeing their favorite human beings on the earth wear something or present themselves in a specific way, right? And I'm talking like cultural icons, people who influence what music people listen to, what crowds of people hang out with, what lifestyle they can identify with, what clothes they're putting on their body, right? Whenever you can make everybody's favorite people do that, you are going to have a cultural, unspoken, subconscious influence on random people. You're going to basically be able to convince them that something is cool without actually even saying it or advertising it or paying Facebook to show it to them 17 times before they realize, oh, hey, this is cool, something I want to buy. They went completely under the radar by implanting themselves in bits and pieces of culture that were seen on a pedestal, and that just causes everybody that lives in that subculture to see the best example of their subculture doing X. So if they want to be cool in their head, they're going to think, oh, well, who's the coolest person I know, right? Well, in the subculture, it's this person, right? And if they're doing X, Y, and Z, and everybody thinks they're cool, if I do X, Y, Z, everybody's gonna think I'm cool. So I'm gonna do X, Y, Z, which may consist of wearing a Rick Owens shirt, or wearing Chrome Hearts pants, or wearing Dior shoes, or wearing a Chrome Hearts hat, or whatever it is, right? See, that's a completely different psychological trigger. When people see a Facebook ad, essentially in their head, they are experiencing a fly buzzing in front of their face that they have to swat away to be able to look at or engage with whatever they're doing. That is essentially how people watch an advertisement on social media that is paid to get put in front of their face, right? Because it's not going to be as curated. It's not going to be as good of content, right? Because it's advertisement in general. So if you can remove the layer of advertisement from your presentation of a product to an audience, then they are going to automatically like it. Then they're going to be 10 times more likely to want that product. And the second part of Chrome Heart's marketing strategy is the fact that they never chased mass distribution, right? You couldn't just go into the mall and find Chrome Hearts. You couldn't just walk up to Walmart or walk up to Zoomies or walk up to PacSun and find some Chrome Hearts in the store. So number one, it was hard to get your hands on. And number two, it was worn by all of the people who were influencing people's selection in clothing that they wore. And Chrome Hearts has been doing this for decades. They still make people for select members of the consumer audience that they feel will impact other people to want their products. And they still don't really have many stores. I think they have 2 stores worldwide, and it's really hard to get to them because they're in odd places, right? There's like maybe one on the Eastern Hemisphere, maybe one on the Western Hemisphere, and it's not going to be in your biggest major cities. Now, by this time, you are probably thinking, oh, well, Chrome Hearts had access to rock stars. He had access to famous people. I don't have access to famous people. So how is this strategy applicable for me? Well, everything can be done at scale, right? Maybe this guy spent 10 years in the industry meeting people and working in that culture and building relationships so that he could have access to those people, right? And that is rewarded by only time and intention and consistency. So if you haven't been doing that for 10 years and you don't know a lot of these people, right? What you need to do is understand that this strategy can be implemented at scale like Chrome Hearts did, or it can be implemented at scale like I did last year. So for me, I don't know Justin Bieber. I don't know Chris Brown. I don't know their managers. I don't dig for it. I don't know the NBA stars, and I don't know the fucking famous athletes, fucking managers or distribution or anything, right? So for me, I know people in a very sub-niche culture. So that sub-niche of culture is where most of the people that I knew existed. I need to put on a jacket, shirt, because it is cold in my apartment right now. I live in a cement block, for those of you who don't know. Some of these days I'll have to do an apartment tour. So there's a concept in consumer psychology called aspirational authority. Basically, it means that when people see somebody of a higher perceived value use or interact with something, they perceive the item as higher in value. Basically, if your idols are wearing it, if your idols are doing it, you want to be like your idols, you're going to do it too. And just think about it. When somebody in your life that you respect or admire does something, says something, displays themselves in a way that you find to be cool or intriguing, you're going to notice those things. And that's not advertisement. You don't see it the same way you see advertisement. You see it as a unique thing that makes them unique, right? That makes them admirable, like a trait that you desire to have, or a value that you desire to have, that they have, that you want to share. Your brain just processes it as a signal that's worth paying attention to, essentially. Take any collab as an example. Take Virgil Abloh for Louis Vuitton or Kanye West for Adidas. All of these collabs worked because the consumers already resonated and trusted the taste of whoever the designer or artist was, right? So whenever they make something, because they've liked everything that artist has done or produced for them in the past, they're just going to like the next thing that they do and the next thing that they do after that. Same with Pharrell or any of these really big designers that go from big fashion house to big fashion house to big major brand, Travis Scott to Oakley. And this is fundamentally different from Facebook advertising, because whenever you see a Facebook or an Instagram ad, your guard goes up because you know that somebody is paying for that thing to be shown to you, right? It's not something that you are going to like all the time. It's something that's being forced in front of you, right? Like I said earlier, it's like a fly flying in front of your face that you have to swat away to be able to see what you wanted to see, which is, actual people's posts and documentation and art on these social media apps. But on the other hand, if you see somebody in your subculture that you find interesting, maybe that you identify with, right, then you are going to automatically just see that person that you hold up on this pedestal and be like, oh shit, well, they're wearing this, and ultimately, like, that makes me see it in a higher light. So I think it's cool, and maybe I'm more apt to purchase it too, right? That's a whole different thought process psychologically. And Chrome Hearts knew this even before social media existed, and they were planting their clothing and their brand on the best people that would impact the niche. It's almost like remote advertising, right? It's word of mouth, essentially, right? But at a mass scale, because everybody is looking at the mouth that's wearing it, essentially. Basically, it was aspirational rather than interruptive. Interruptive is negative. It's something that we don't want. It's an inconvenience. It's a nuisance, right? Whereas aspirational feels like an add to our lives. And the other layer of that is the social proof, right? Whenever people see a certain brand implanted on different parts of the niche, they're just going to see it as something that exists and has permeated the niche rather than something that's trying to permeate the niche, right? And something that's like here in the culture, it's present, right? That's going to be more thoroughly enjoyed, and it's going to attract more people because people want to be like other people, right? They want to find interest in other things. And at the end of the day, whenever you're in a culture of people who are getting ideas for ways that they can add to their life, whether it's like a new shirt that they can wear that looks cool or unique, or a new pair of pants that presents them a little bit differently, right? They're going to be looking at other people in their community for inspiration. If you're already there and it's a repeated thing that people see all the time in their daily lives, that is the replacement of the Facebook advertisement, except for you don't even see interacting with somebody like a Facebook advertisement, because it's not interruptive, like I said before. And that authentic desire for something is not something that you can curate with a Facebook advertisement campaign. So for me to do this with my brand last year, I did what is commonly called a seeding round, which is basically where you select creators to gift your product to send them a gift box to, right? Select influencers that you feel fit your niche, right? That would probably have the followings of your target audience, right? I believe I sent out 20 to 30 packages, right? But I spent a week or two really researching and looking for the right people to send it to, because who you send it to really, really matters, right? And you don't want to send it to somebody who doesn't have a cultural presence, right? The people that you want to send these gifts to are going to people who are impacting the taste of a specific niche. They're people who are starting a trend, right? We call these people tastemakers, and basically they're just the influencers of the influencers, right? They're the people who are dictating the direction in which the style of that niche and culture is going to go. Are we going to start wearing tighter shirts? Are we going to start wearing looser shirts? Are we going to start wearing workwear? Are we going to start wearing leather? Are we going to start wearing sequins, right? Are we going to start wearing smaller bags or bigger bags, right? They are the people who are essentially experimenting, trying new things, right? And then doing something that's a little bit unique, but is really kind of intriguing to the community, and thus other people in the community start acting like them. Those are the people that you want to seed to. And basically what you want to do is you want to, again, make your selection of creators. I like to stick to smaller creators between like 50 and 1 million followers, anything beyond 1 million followers. And they're just more apt to want a paid promotion deal out of it. and more than likely they're not going to be niched enough for me to hit exactly who I want with the clothing, because the clothing that I make is made for a specific niche of people. So the bigger somebody gets, the less niche that they get, because the niche is only so big, right? So you want to target the guys in the smaller following ranges, but you want to target guys who do a very specific thing, who have a very specific shtick or look or style, and they have weight in the community, right? They are seen as like the top dogs of the community, right? Your rapper's favorite rapper, essentially, right? The people who influence the taste of the other people in the niche. I know I've said niche like 18 different times, but honestly, that's what this is all about. That's the only reason influencer seeding is even possible, right? So I did some outreach, and we're gonna go through some outreach right now. But before we do that, it's important to understand the two types of people that you can go for. You can either go for the people that I just talked about, which are going to be the tastemakers, or you can go to more UGC style creators. Now, UGC style creators are not going to be the people who are directly impacting the culture, but they're going to be the people who are relaying the message. These creators act as news anchors for the community, and they're going to basically be calling out like new things that are impacting the culture. This happened, this person wore this brand, this person wore this brand. Oh, these people are doing a collab, right? They kind of serve as like the news outlet for the community. And what you'll find is that in the clothing community, there's a lot of people who use this for direct promotion. They use this kind of like news anchor outlet. And honestly, it kind of creates a whole ad marketplace on the organic side of things for itself, right? Where basically there's, let's say, a creator making a video on the top 8 jeans you should wear for the summer. Now, obviously, that video is going to get a lot of views because a lot of people want to know, like, what's trending right now? What is cool to wear right now? What is the coolest thing available to buy so that I can be perceived by other people as cooler, or I can express myself more in this specific way that I'm feeling? So there's going to be 8 ad slots essentially. Now, these creators are looking to make this content because they get paid by certain companies to include your mention or your product in videos, right? And that's what they want. They want to do advertisement. This is the UGC creator blueprint essentially. And these people are often the best people to work with for this specific thing, because though they may not be impacting the culture directly, if you can get free advertisement out of something like that, you're getting the news anchor essentially to shout you out for free. That is so worth the gift of you like giving them the package, especially if you're a beginner. Yeah, maybe this person isn't, Lenny Kravitz's self, right? Maybe this person isn't Bob Dylan himself. Maybe this person isn't Brad Pitt himself, right? But they are somebody who's relaying a message of those big guys to the people. So, how do we find these people? Well, all you're gonna really need to do is go into the niche, right? Whether it's on TikTok or it's on Instagram, go to the people that you believe to be the first to come to mind within your niche, right? The creators that have the most followers, or the creators that are the biggest or the most well-known in the niche, right? First, you're going to go to their profiles. And if they are a top dog, then more than likely, you're probably not gonna have the best shot at getting them to promote your item. So what you want to do is you want to figure out, who are they influencing? Who is that next tier down, right? We've got this person, top dog, right? The leader of the taste, basically, the leader of the niche, right? And then you've got the ones below him that are trying to get up there. They're trying to post content, and they're making lots of new things, and they're experimenting, and they're really grinding, right? Because they want that top dog position, or they just want to be successful in the niche, right? So those guys are who we want to find. The way to find these people is essentially just going through who the top dogs follow first, right? And if you're in a super broad niche and you're looking at people like Jake Paul or some shit, you're getting too broad, right? You need to be looking in a very specific niche. Like I've taught with identity development and stuff, it's very important that you have a specific niche, because otherwise you're not going to stand out from all the top dogs that are like super broad, like Walmart and JCPenney and PacSun and Zoomies and the mall brands who are essentially mass marketing themselves to everyone. So what you want to do is you want to go to the more niched influencers, and you want to see who are they following, right? Because they're only going to follow people people that inspire them, especially if they're making a lot of really good content, they're not going to just be following a bunch of randoms. At least I don't. I follow 250 people because I don't want to have a lot of noise in my feed. I don't care to look at things that are not going to appeal to me just because I want a connection from somebody or like I want to follow them, which means that the quality of the people that I'm following are probably influencing me as well, right? I am probably also enjoying their content, but typically those guys, if you don't know about them and you're finding them in the following count of the actual top dog, then they are going to be much more likely to answer your message because people don't perceive them the same way they perceive the top dog, right? They don't see themselves as like, oh, I should be charging $10,000 for an Instagram story, right? Typically, they're going to be a lot more up for something, right? They're going to be a lot more open to you gifting them something and them just showing a little bit of support in return. And that's what you want at the end of the day. Those guys are going to be the ones that are the most accessible to people who are just starting, but that does require a few things. Number one, it requires a really good product. If you have a really good product, you can appeal to virtually anybody, right? But if you have a product that's good enough, more people will be likely to take it and wear it for free, right? Without you having to pay them. So if your product is shitty, essentially, they're gonna wanna get paid, right? If your product is really good and something they would already use, then they're not going to care about getting paid because it's going to add to their life in a way that goes beyond the, $500 deposit that they get from doing an ad for some company, which is again why it's really important that you get really niched, I'm gonna say it again, with who you're speaking to, because there it's going to be easier to find those people. So make a list of 20 to 30 influencers who are both tastemakers in your niche and UGC creators in your niche, and then do some outreach to them. All right. If they are a UGC creator, you're going to say a little something like this. Hey, what's up? I appreciate your content. I think what you're doing is really cool. I'd love to send you a gift. It's as simple as that. You don't need to come up with 10 different reasons why they should accept your message. You don't need to try and make it seem like the next fucking magical thing. Why? Because everybody's fucking doing that, and we're tired of seeing those messages. I get those messages, not to try and be like, oh, I'm an influencer, but like I get a lot of those messages because I do, have a decent amount of followers on Instagram from content other than just informational content. So I get those messages and it's annoying to see, right? And I don't accept messages unless it's just purely just something I like, right? A product that I like. They don't need to sell me on it. I could see one word from the brand. And if I like the stuff, right? If I like the product, I'm going to answer the message, right? If it's a product that needs to be sold to me, I'm not reading a paragraph. I ain't reading all that. I'm not doing that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to look at the product. I'm going to say, hey, I like the product, or hey, I don't like the product. And if I do like the product, I'll shoot a message back, right? Because if I don't like the product, I'm not even going to waste my time reading the message. You know what I'm saying? So keep your message short, be kind, be respectful, acknowledge them first, and then just say, hey, I want to give you something, right? I've got this or this from my brand, and I feel like you would wear it well, or you would really enjoy the use of it, and I'd love some feedback. And that's it. That's the message. Now, when you are trying to target a tastemaker, there are two different seeding routes that you can go. This is going to be an influencer or creator that basically influences the style, right? They sit above the UGC creators. And these guys need a little bit more convincing typically, unless you know them personally or have a personal connection or to them or to somebody that they work with. If you do have a personal connection, you'd say, hey, great content. Love what you're doing for the niche. I'd love to send you some cool stuff I made for my brand that I think you might like. Send me the address if you'd like me to send it out. And that's going to pretty much let them know that it's a gifting, right? It's not a promotion. Typically, if brands are going to pay a creator, they will say, hey, we have budget, or we would like you to be a part of X campaign. But if you present it as a gift, it's not going to get a reply of like, hey, it's $1,000, right? Typically, they're just going to take it or leave it. And if it's a good product and it adds to their life and it's something that they would use, they get something out of it beyond just the money, like I mentioned earlier. Now, the other route is that you can offer a collaboration. You can offer to make something specifically that would suit them, something with some form of personalization, right? That is a method that I believe is truly untapped. And it's because most people are just not super creative with the items they make. So that opportunity doesn't even present itself. But for the people who are truly creative and can curate something for someone, right? For someone as an individual, you can probably come up with a way to do this for your brand. I'm going to talk about how I've been able to do it for my brand, what I'm going to do this year to continue doing that, and then we'll get into how you can do it. So now that you've identified your 2 types of creators that you want to do outreach to, you've made your lists, now you are going to do your outreach and you're going to take into account which ones reply. You're going to document which ones actually post it once you send it out. And then you're going to document which ones caused a significant spike in traffic or interest. And this is going to be hard to gauge. You're going to want to look at comments increase. You're going to want to look at page views. You're going to want to look at the increases or decreases in your visits to your website, and you're going to want to look at the amount of people that tapped the at so-and-so brand link whenever they posted it on their story or in their feed. Sometimes they can offer you this data if you ask for it and they post it on their story, because they can see how many times somebody tapped on the link. And recording this data is essentially just going to give you a good idea of who you're going to do it with again, who you're going to send a second package to. Now, speaking of package, I want to quickly touch on the experience of the gifting. This is honestly a huge part of it. And my rule here is simple. If you can appeal to all 5 of their senses and you can do it in a curated way that is meant for them, that they know was personally made for them, then you can get somebody to repost it, right? So for example, taste would be maybe throw in a few like candies or something, or a few like a treat of some kind in there that you feel would kind of connect them to your brand. For listening, for touch, it could be a specific texture of wrapping or packaging that they get to interact with, whether it's like a matte kind of like leather finish, or it's a rough canvas finish, or it's a metallic feel, right? And you can do this with all 5 of the senses. If it looks visually stimulating, if it looks like something they would like to post on their Instagram story, or that they feel like would add to who they are as a creator and what they're presenting to the world, that's going to give them incentive to post. If it smells good, it's going to give them a memory of that smell and an association with that smell to your brand. And if they like that association, then they're going to share it because it's just something that they like, that they're looking to make content about. So your goal should be to make the unboxing experience that's so good that they share it without you even asking them to. That is what makes a perfect gifting sequence, right? And in addition to that, what makes it even better if it's a product that they can show frequently on a daily basis. So maybe a product that they can wear 2 or 3 times a week, or maybe a product that they just wear and just don't really take off, like some people with jewelry, right? They'll put on a necklace and they just won't take it off for a while, right? They just, like it, so they keep it on a daily basis, and you see it every single day in the content. And that has a very, very compounding effect. And speaking of compound, I want to talk about momentum, all right, and where that applies in this whole game of gifting to the tastemakers of a culture. What you're going to want to do is essentially just build a relationship to these people. Love on them as frequently as you can. Reshare their content, right? You're going to want to gift them more things, especially if they're posting. If they're posting and you keep giving them more stuff, they're going to continue posting. They're going to continue appreciating it, especially if, again, the products are really, really good and they're super suited for that influencer or tastemaker's lifestyle. So if you can do this again and again, you can essentially build a compound effect that keeps giving these people new things to post, new things to wear. So what I do is I reserve a percentage of the inventory that I purchase whenever I buy something in bulk that I really like, that I think a lot of people will like, and I set aside 10 to 20% of that inventory sometimes. That's on the larger end. That's only with select products that I find to be super, super promising. But I'll set aside maybe 10% of inventory to seed out to select people, right? Maybe it's 20 people one month. Maybe it's 50 people the next month. It really just depends on how many people I think the product will actually apply to and how many people I think would actually feel like their life got better because they had that product. And it's not going to be the same. Some things are going to have use for only a certain number of people. For example, right now I'm making a leather lighter buddy. Not everybody smokes, which means not everybody would find a use for that, right? Which means that my number of people that I can send it out to is going to be a lot smaller than if I send out a pair of Levi's inspired jeans, right? Everybody can wear that. Everybody's probably going to wear that. Everybody probably already wears that, right? Which means my list of people is going to be a lot bigger. And basically, you're going to want to do this on a recurring cycle, right? Because what you want to do is you want to build a team of ambassadors, right? That are funneling your product into the consumption of the mainstream of your niche. I know that was a lot of this, but that's what it is broken down. So that's how Chrome Hearts built a billion-dollar brand, how all of the brands today that will be around in 20 years will have built their billion-dollar brands, how I will build my billion-dollar brand. And at the end of the day, it is difficult. It does take a lot of effort over a consistent amount of time, but that's the name of this game anyways. Anybody who is not willing to put in effort consistently for a long time is not going to make it in this shit, all right? And I encourage you to go ahead and adopt that mindset, because until you do, you will be short-lived in this industry. You will come and you will go. You will have maybe 1 or 2 successful drops and then you'll be done, right? Because consistency and just keep on fucking hammering at the nail, that is what separates the winners for that stay around for years and years and years and retire off of this shit and sell for, you know, millions and millions of dollars, from the people who come, they have a good run that's like 1, 2, 3 years. I've seen this plenty of times, and then they're gone, they disappear, the brand dies, no one ever talks about them, nobody resells them. It's just a brand that once was that no longer is. And like I said, this shit can be done at any scale, so you can start doing this right now. It only takes 3 things. Number 1, a good product that you feel good about. Number 2, a crowd of people that you know you can sell the product to. And number 3, the influencers that are controlling what those people are buying. That's all you need to identify. And once you can do those things, you can literally, anybody can do this. Literally anybody. You don't have to be Chrome Hearts. You don't have to have connections built over 10 years. Does that help? Yeah, and you should be trying to do that, because in 10 years, you're going to appreciate it if you did, right? But for now, you can do this. You can do this at any level. Tons of companies do this. People start drop shipping brands that sell pencil sharpeners and do this shit, right? So if they can do it, then why can't you? Now, let's talk about the prerequisite to doing this. The prerequisite is that you have to understand the identity of your community, and then you have to understand how to make good products for those people. And that is specifically what I've been teaching for 2 years now, and what I've been researching for 6 years now. That is specifically what we personally dive into in Urban Unity. And that's honestly why I founded Urban Unity, to basically help bring this next generation of brand owners into a zone of operating where their work has meaning, where they're developing communities, right? They're doing good for the world. They are serving other people. They're thinking in an innovative way to make products that make the people that they care about, that they resonate with, life better, essentially. So if that's something you'd be interested in, I am taking on a few more students this month. I honestly don't take on very many students. We deny about 90% of our applications, because I want to be able to give my time to the people that I feel show the most promise and who are actually willing to invest in themselves. So if it is something you'd be interested in, the application is below in the description of this video. Please be thorough on it, because like I said, we don't just take anybody. And if I feel like, you don't care about it, then I'm not going to care about it either. So fill that out with some intention if you are interested in that. And if not, I have tons of free videos that you can watch. I have a 6-hour-long free course here that's going to pop up on the screen if you want to go watch that and just soak up a bunch of knowledge. So until next time, friends, I am in your corner. I'm in the trenches with you. This shit's hard, but we're getting through it. We're learning every day, and hopefully I can share more with you next week. So I'll see you in the next video.